Thanks everyone for coming out. Fortunately, we don't have any snow tonight, so it was easy for you to make it out. We've been able to chat a little bit, so we're here for the Red Lake Dam to discuss the water control manual update. And so right now, myself, I'm Colin Smith. I'm a water resources engineer with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers down in St. Paul. We have Liz Nelson here as well, Trevor Cyphers, Jason Tidwell, and Melanie Peterson. We also have Jason Hauser here as well from the Corps. Katie is leading the planning effort on this, but was unable to attend tonight. So like I said, we're here to talk about the Corps' effort to update the Red Lake Water Control Manual and listen to your ideas for Red Lake operations and control of that structure. We also have this presentation streaming online for people that aren't able to attend in person. So then in order to get everyone's ideas in, this is primarily about engaging with all of you who interact with the river and the lake and the dam on a daily basis. So in order to ensure we get all of your ideas, they're keeping our presentation to a minimum 15 minutes. I could probably keep talking longer than you would like me to. And then we have some time for your input, where you're able to share your input, and we'll have an open house at the end where you can talk one-on-one with any of us and discuss your ideas for the dam operation. We'll just go over a few ground rules. During the presentation, as exciting as it may get, we ask that you please keep your questions to the end. And then during the public input time, try to, keep your remarks as concise as possible so everyone gets a chance to speak. There will be plenty of time for answering the questions. And then during the open house, like I said, we'll be available to answer questions. You'll also be able to submit your comments on the comment sheets, which we had over on the sign-in table. You can send those in, and then you can also email the comments to us as well. We have a couple of email addresses up there. We're having a little issues with the first one, so the second one is there as a backup, but if you reach out to those, you'll be able to get a hold of us as well.
Thanks, Colin. Hello, everyone. I'm, as you mentioned before, Jason Tidwell. I've been with the Corps of Engineers since 2016. I'm a civil engineer in the water management section, and I'm the primary regulator for the Red Lake Dam. I took over about 2 years ago. Before me was Brian Johnson, so if you don't recognize him, it's because he is still with us. He's just handling the headwaters now for us instead of Red Lake Dam as well. I'm going to go quickly through my slides, just a little bit of some tidbits and details about the Red Lake Dam. Many of you know where it is, you know what it looks like. It has a 36,000 foot embankment. The embankment is at 1181.5. The dam itself has 4 bays that are 16 feet wide, 3 of which have lift gates, 4th of which has stop logs in it. It was installed in 1951. It has a straightened channel below it that also was built at about the same time in 1950s, or the early 50s as well, as part of the project. You can also see there that the fish passage that was installed in 1911 to help the migration of fish into Red Lake from the river. The main purposes for the Red Lake Dam, the authorized purposes from Congress, are for flood control, and it has secondary purposes for water supply and pollution abatement. Now, what is a water control manual? Well, this is our water control manual. It is our rule book that we must follow. It's almost like pseudo legal document. It has information in there on the dam itself, how it was made, its dimensions, history of it. It has information on the climate, contact information, and a bunch of other information surrounding the dam itself, but most importantly, it has the dam instructions for operations under any conditions, whether it's flood, normal operation, and low flow. So the rules for those operations are really important, and that's one of the things that we're looking at as part of this dam update is the operation of the dam. We're not looking at changing the dam itself, any dimensions or anything physical about it, just how it's operated. This is was ratified, adopted in 1964. There was an effort to update the dam in the 1990s. There was work done behind it. I do have the 1995 draft, but it was never approved. But there was an effort to try and update it. We need to now update it with all the information related to climate, the contact folks, and also the operations rules and so forth, because we're still operating on 1964 rules. Things have changed a lot since 1964, right? Just briefly about how we currently manage the dam. I like to go from the springtime through the summer and then the fall, but in the springtime, just before the spring runoff, we will close the dam down to a token flow. This is literally what the dam says, a token flow. What is that flow? It generally is a little over 100 CFS, maybe 150 CFS, or so. We close the dam down to try and help downstream flood conditions so that the dam isn't contributing to downstream flood conditions. After the flood passes at High Landing and downstream in Deep River Falls and Brookston, then we open the dam up to try to reduce the flood levels. Typically, from the 1964 analysis, the conservation level or the normal pool level is 1174. In the wintertime, we are allowed to drop down to 1173.5 with the expectation that spring snow and runoff will raise the Red Lake about a foot. So after the runoff comes, we open the gates up and we try to bring it back down to 1174. And we keep it there, and we keep a close eye on our control points, which are High Landing and at Crookston. For High Landing, the stage of interest is 8.75 feet, and for Crookston, it's 18 feet. So oftentimes, I'll open, for example, I've opened it up recently, but I've kept a close eye on High Landing and noticed that, well, with the 450, 460 CFS I've been letting out, it's pretty steady at 5 3/4 foot, or maybe around 6, depends on whether or not we've had local rain or so, but it's been pretty steady in those areas. Now this is just something you can see on our Access to Water website, which I can give you the website address for it after this meeting. It just shows the current conditions. Right now, the normal pool is reading around 1174.23 at the dam. At Washkish, it's 1173.93, I believe. And how do we determine the lake level on Red Lake right now? It's really hard. It's a huge lake, right? It's the 16th largest lake in America. Well, we use a gauge at the dam, and we use a gauge at Washkish, and we average the two. Of course, that's a lot of lake. Sometimes they can be half a foot, maybe even a foot difference. It depends on which way the wind is blowing. We did have a gauge at Somme, but the river at Somme was affecting that gauge and giving us wrong readings that weren't helping us determine what the lake level was, so we discontinued that gauge. I decided to put this one on. It's really interesting to see these are historic flows, and they give percentages. The green, we have another map up here. You can take a closer look at some of the numbers and so forth, but the green is the median area. The light blue and the dark blue are the higher areas, like the 25 and upper 10%. And of course, on the bottom, you have the low flows. We have other years there, like 2021 is in a dashed line up there right now. The dark line you see far to the left is the current elevation, and we're sitting comfortably in the green zone right now, kind of very close to the median. But you can see the characteristic hump in the springtime runoff season, and of course it varies from year to year. And we also have some drought years up there as well from 1988. Those of you like myself can remember the late 80s were quite dry, and I can't remember the other one, but there was another dry year where it starts off in the median and then falls right off into the summertime. I can fill in other details about the dam following our presentation, but we'll try and keep it to our 15 minutes, and I'll now pass the mic on to Trevor Cyphers, my colleague who is a biologist.
Hi there. Like Jason said, I'm a biologist. Specifically, I work in environmental compliance, so any changes we make to the water control manual, I have to evaluate how that impacts the environment and other social aspects. I want to really break this up into two different areas because it really is. First, we have Red Lake and then the Red Lake River. So first I want to talk about some of the positives of Red Lake. The first being, it's really a productive sport fishery, particularly walleye, northern pike. There's trophy-sized pike in the lake. There's a lot of other wildlife around. You got white-tailed deer, black bear, waterfowl, ruffed grouse. And it's also an important place for migratory birds. Also around Red Lake, there's a lot of unique habitats, wetlands, peat bogs, a lot of different forests and state forests surrounding it. But with it, there are a number of impairments to Red Lake. First of all, as you know, it's a very large lake, so wind wave action is a problem. It causes high turbidity, which in turn, reduces light penetration for the lake, so you don't get as much vegetation as you might want. And then it also leads to shoreline erosion, which is not great for everyone's home in their shoreline. Other problems, it's in between like a minor and a moderate algae levels, and that's really dictated by total phosphorus as well as chlorophyll A, depending on the year. It might vary. Some of the tributaries leading into Red Lake are impaired. There's like E. coli impairments, as well as total dissolved oxygen and total suspended solids. And there is one invasive species, starry stonewort. Then moving into our second part of the Red Lake Dam is sort of our Red Lake River here, where we're more dealing today with. Some of the positives, it's relatively good water quality. There's surrounding wetlands in the early portion of the Red Lake River. There's a lot of natural meanders later on, some riffles and pools, which is good habitat for fish. And speaking of which, many portions do have good fishing. And then there's a lot of kayaking and other recreation along the Red Lake River because it's a really cool, unique habitat. With that, there are a number of impairments. Right at the beginning, it's channelized. There are a number of physical barriers, specifically for fish passage or dams. There can be a lack of base flow during droughts. There is sort of a poorly defined floodplain in this area. There's also wind and wave erosion similar to the lake, and high turbidity and sometimes low dissolved oxygen. So with the update and us being a federal entity, we also need to look into endangered species. So looking at some of the endangered species in this area, specifically we have the northern long-eared bat, and tricolored bat, and then Canadian lynx, gray wolf, and monarch butterfly. So that's really all I have, and then I'll finish up with Colin telling you what we're doing next.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. So it's the first time meeting most of us, if we haven't worked with you in the past. We're just starting out the water control manual update process. So in this November to December period, we'll be accepting comments through December 15th. We'll collect all those comments, organize, discuss them internally. Within the January to September time period of 2024, next year we have funding to continue studying and beginning studying of the ideas that come out of those public comments and the discussions that we have with you all. Parts 2 and 3 will follow that, depending on timing, depending on funding when that comes through, but we'll continue working on those parts of the updates. So like we said, there are a couple of different ways to share input. Written in the open house session, like I said, we have comment cards at the back table where you signed in. You can provide them in person. You can come up and talk to us as well tonight. And then you can also submit them electronically. We have a couple of email addresses. We've been having some issues with the first one, like I said before. The second one is another good way to get in touch with us though. Like Jason mentioned, there are ways to find additional info about the dam. We have gauge data available online. You can see some of the figures similar to what Jason shared. You can find in the bottom right corner there, the water control manual is available on the National Water Management website. So you can access a copy of that 1964 manual if there's anything you want to look at it for specifically. So tonight we'll have a public input period. Like we said, please time your remarks so that there's time for everyone to speak. And there will be additional time to answer any questions during the open house. And then during the open house, we'll be able to come around and talk one-on-one with us core employees. And we'll also have the opportunity, like I said, to submit public comments in a written format as well. So during the public input period, it'll be our time to listen to your ideas for the Red Lake operations. Some examples, what issues do you think need to be studied further? What issues are affecting you? You're the ones that are, like I said, living and working and playing on the river itself. So what strategies do you think need to change or stay the same, or what options are out there? And that's all we have for the presentation part of it. So we'll now go into the public input and the open house portion of our discussion. So yeah, thank you for coming out. Looking forward to